Welcome to the Scoop World Order, a massive Monday. Some new names in the portal. Devin Brown is in the portal since last time we talked to you guys. Miles Walker is in the portal. And if we want to go back in time, there are four former Buckeyes that were on the roster last year: Jair Brown, JK, Jacqueline Johnson, Omari Abor, and also Chip Trainum. Four former Buckeyes are back in the portal after leaving for a year or so. Again, the portal is crazy, along with some of our old friends, Peyton Kirkland, and Cam Dewberry, two offensive linemen that we could not live without, have also entered the portal. So there are a lot of ghosts of Christmas past 4 and 5 star offensive linemen that the world was ending when we didn't get them, and they turned out that they were not very good, or they were busts, and they're now portaling, looking for a new home. So we're going to break all that down and also talk a little Tennessee Volunteers. This is going to be a huge game. Cannot wait for this game. I think this will be the most electric atmosphere in Ohio Stadium history because it's a home playoff game. And I know one thing, I played in the 2006 Ohio State Michigan game. I think that's the leader of the 05 Texas game. But our fans are going to have to be exceptionally loud in this game because it's going to be freezing. So I know it's a night game in the shoe, cold. So the boos will be flowing and our fans will be very loud. So that'll be great for the old home team. So again, if you guys enjoy our content, please leave us a like, click subscribe, also click that little alert bell. Again, love you guys to death. This has been an incredible month. We're closing in on 34,000 subscribers on YouTube. If you guys want to do something that would be amazing for us, please subscribe to our podcast on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. Again, those are two formats that we're growing to chase YouTube, but YouTube has been our flagship, and we appreciate you guys kicking with us every night. You guys mean the world. So thank you, Scoop family. You guys are the absolute best. Got to bring in Nevadabuck. Nevada, this has been a very interesting little run. Obviously, Tennessee is a very good opponent, and I was watching them this morning. I was talking to Charles Bentley a little bit this morning for about a half hour. He thinks they've got a really good D line. I do too. We were studying and kind of comparing notes, and our O line's going to have to show up and play physical. And also, there's been a lot of attrition. Devin Brown is in the portal. Where would you like to start tonight?
Well, had a great nugget today from the helping technician, talking about some of those O-line configurations, and I thought that'd probably be a good place to start. But yeah, massive Monday, got a lot of things to talk about. But helping technician, great insider on our Buckeye Scoop board. If you're not on BuckeyeScoop.com, you're really missing out because it is one active message board and lots and lots and lots of topics. Everything gets broken there first before we bring it here. But he was breaking down, the stuff that they've been working on, and the question is, does Josh Padilla step in at center? Does Luke Montgomery step in at guard? Does Tigra get moved out to kind of a jumbo, to a name, a blast from the past that you'll appreciate? The Andre Tyree position was actually referenced today in one of the great moves in Michigan game history, where he had that one shining moment of brilliance and then slid back into obscurity. But for that one moment, man, it worked. Now, were you? I don't remember the year that was. Were you part of that? Was that before you? Was that after you? Or was that during you?
So Andre Tyree is a name that none of you guys will know or remember. Andre played. I don't know when his senior. I don't know if his senior was in 05 or it might have been 05. So, but he was a little short, fat guard. We didn't know what to do with him. We played him at guard. I think we actually moved him to D tackle for a little bit, then moved him back over to guard because the defense couldn't do anything with him. And for the 2005 Michigan game, Jim Bowman, in one of his amazing, and I'm usually sarcastic when I say amazing, but like literally an amazing foresight, transformation, whatever, decided to put Andre Tyree at tight end. So we put him in the 96 jersey. And we ran like all these packages where he was our tight end and he was our blocking tight end. Like he never ran a route because he was 320 pounds. He was like 6'2", so a little short, squatty dude, but he was strong. I mean, he was strong. And dude, we went out there and Andre Tyree was wrecking. Like Alan Branch played defensive end that year a little bit. We ran this package where we just ran right behind me and Tyree. We run to the right and he'd be at tight end and he was killing guys. And I was like, it was the funniest thing ever because Michigan didn't know who it was because 96 was a walk-on named Jordan Hoisher who never played. And all of a sudden they put Tyree there and he was killing these dudes. Now, Jordan Hosh is a white dude, and Andre is obviously a black dude. But it was one of the most unbelievable performances ever because he murdered the guys. And then, like, yeah, so we win the Michigan game in 05, which was like one of the biggest comebacks in school history because, we stunk for the most of the game. Then we came back and won it thanks to Troy Smith and Santonio, and Gonzo had that big catch, and Pittman, whatever. And then Andre goes out, like, he must have celebrated because, like, a week later, he, like, failed a drug test and was ineligible for the Notre Dame game. So, like, he had this moment where he was, like, incredible. We were so excited for him because, like, he never played. Like, he's a scholarship guy that was just kind of buried, and he wasn't really good enough to play. But we found this role for him where he was magical for a game. And so we were getting ready. It was so funny because Notre Dame spent the whole prep getting ready for him. And Charlie Weiss, I remember, talked about how they had to get ready for the package with Jordan Haywisher, who was the walk-on white guy who wasn't strong, and he quit the team after like 2 years. And and I'm sitting there, he has no idea that it's Tyree, that there's no chance that Tyree's playing in this game. But yeah, it was one of the craziest things I've ever seen in football. It's like we had one guy that for one game was like the Hulk, and then he went back to literally like suspended for off the team. So it was that's a funny blast from the past that you bring up Tizzle, because he was like a little short, fat dude, and it was funny and stuff, but he was never like a real player. And then we put him in for that one game, and it was like, oh my God, like I was like, why doesn't he do that all the time? Like, why, or he'd be a starting guard for us if he was doing that consistently, but he just, he was short and squatty, but he was strong. He's like cock strong. And like, dude, it was one of the most amazing performances in Ohio, in one of the most obscure, amazing performances in Ohio State history. But yeah, I love Tigra, but Tigra is nowhere in the strength category. Like, there's no way that he's in Tizzle's category. No, he's more productive as a player. He started 12 games, but that'd be amazing if Tigra could get some Tyree action going, because that was one of the funniest things I've ever seen in my career, and it was amazing for that one game. We watched that film, and I was like, I can't believe this is Andre Tyree, and he's just dogging out Alan Branch. Alan Branch is 6'7", 330 pounds, and Tyree gets little short arms in there and jackknife Branch back, and it was amazing. So great reference though. HT is the man. If you guys don't know Helping Technician, he's an insider on our board, and he's a hoot. He's an old crotchety dude, but he knows what he says. So that's a great reference. Go ahead, Nevada.
Yeah, so I figured you'd enjoy the Andre Tyree. I actually did not know that was actually during your time. I didn't know that if it was before it or during it or whatever, because yeah, that's so funny. Yeah, so a little Andre Tyree reference today, but just talking about the different configurations on the line. And he also mentioned that LaCharles had come, and a lot of people have been speculating about LaCharles and LaCharles' involvement, and was it a consulting thing like he had done up at Oregon, or had done at Arizona State, or done at Michigan, or anything like that. And he kind of clarified that no, that LaCharles was just there kind of watching practice and just kind of hanging out, which so it was good that they had LaCharles in. It's good that he was there, but this was not a business trip, according to Helping Technician. This was just kind of like when you're going by jail on Monopoly, and it's like just visiting instead of like you're in the jail. You're just kind of I think he was just visiting, and he wasn't actually helping out. So I don't know if LaCharles mentioned that to you today, or if you'd heard anything different about LaCharles' involvement, but yeah, just visiting, going by and saying hello.
Yeah, it's like when you land on jail, but you're not actually in jail. This is so funny. Shout out to Steely. He said this. This is Tizzle now. Tizzle has a LinkedIn. This is amazing. Let me get this thing on here. This is Tizzle now. I've never seen him without like a St. Louis Cardinals hat on. So I didn't even know that he had a top of his head, because he'd always wear like a flat bill baseball cap with like he's like 7 5/8 or whatever sticker on it. So that's Tizzle. There's my boy. Yeah, like he came out there, man. That was one of the funniest things. I have that game on here, so I could break that down. I'll do that one day. But Tizzle was one of the funniest things ever. I could not believe how good he did. Because I was like, we're seriously putting in a package for Andre Tyree. And the problem was, like, none of our tight ends could block. Ryan Hamby was on that team, and he had blood clots. So he was, by mid-season, he was, like, out for the year. He obviously had the Texas drop, which everyone knows him for. And then after that, he just didn't play anymore. We had Marcel Frost, who was coming on and was decent. Also failed drug tests and got kicked out of school. Marcel could have been really good. And then I think Roy Nickel was out for this. I mean, we were down to like no tight ends. Like, I mean, you get to like the Notre Dame game. Like we had Marcel, but I mean, our tight ends were all hurt. They're hurt or they're out or whatever. So we put Tyree out there, and that was, I mean, he literally like played one game his whole career, and he was amazing. And then he was suspended for the bowl game, so off the team, gone. So it was one shining moment, I guess you could say. But yeah, LaCharles, we talked for about a half hour today. You know, I love LaCharles. I talk to him all the time, and he's kind of like Master Splinter when I talk, and I'm kind of like Michelangelo because he knows his stuff, and he's really, he loves learning and talking biomechanics and O-line stuff and stuff that I like to learn. But he, he went to practice, checked it out, had some observations, and went home. That was it. So there was nothing long term. People speculating, is he going to be a consultant? Is he going to be the next line coach? Is he going to be whatever? But not that I know of, not that he knows of. So that's that. But again, I think that he adds value, and I think that he'd add a lot of value, especially. Yeah, he'd be really dynamic in recruiting, I think, and he'd also with development and that type of thing. So I'd figure if I was Ryan Day and I looked at this depth chart and I looked at, we got to get some guys from the portal, and we saw Miles Walker, so we're down another tackle. So we're going to lose. Josh Simmons goes to the league, Miles Walker goes to the portal, Fryer's gone because he's a senior. So it's like you better find somebody that can recruit some tackles because we can't find any right now. So I mean, LaCharles I think would be aces at that, but it's just me. What do I know? I think that I want to touch on Devin Brown. Devin Brown is a kid that I really like. Devin, he really was this time last year. He was like the kind of the bee's knees around the program, and people are like infatuated and in love with him. And then the Will Howard stuff kind of came to fruition, where Ryan, you got to remember, like we broke that Ryan Day was meeting with Will Howard like December 5th in Dallas. Like he just happened to be in the same vicinity of Will Howard, and they just happened to meet, and portal opens up, Will Howard jumps in. But Devin was the one that burned the boats thing, and people that leave are cowards and whatever. And again, I think I'm fine with that. Like I get the bluster, I get trying to get people excited about you, and I'll never leave, and they're cowards. But again, I also think that you gotta, at some point, you got to leave yourself like a back door. You can't just like paint yourself completely in a corner. But he's going to portal after the tournament's over, which again, I totally get that. I think that he's not going to play over Julian Sane, and he probably would get beat up by Tavian St. Clair. But what are your thoughts about it? Because I think Devin, he's a good kid, good Buckeye. I wish him nothing but the best. I hope he lands somewhere where he can play and start and kind of still take a crack at getting to the NFL. But what are your thoughts on Devin as he heads into the portal after the postseason?
I mean, I have nothing but respect for Devin. I just, I mean, the guy stepped up last year when McCord cut and ran. Yeah, I mean, went to Ohio State, asked if he had a future this year, and they told him no. They're like, no, there's no real future to see you on the field. So at that point, what's he supposed to do? Well, I posted this meme last year with boats burning, so I can't leave. No, you got to leave. You have to leave. He's a football player. He's got to go play football. But he's not, and now he's not even leaving until after their last game. So, no, I think Devin's done everything the right way. His one crime is he's not better than some of the guys that we have in the room. He's not better than Will Howard. He's not better than Julian Sane. He's probably not better than Tavian St. Clair. And last year when he had his one shining moment, when he had his chance to grab a hold of the job at the Cotton Bowl, he got hurt. And so, life's cruel sometimes. Life sometimes comes down to a couple of moments. And for his, he was hurt. And but I have nothing but respect for him. And Devin's a great kid, really, really good kid. And he'll be a success in life, and hopefully he finds a good spot. He's a guy that I'll definitely be rooting for to do well going forward. As I do for all the players, but Devin particularly. So that's where I'm at with that. I think the portal. I think the kids that are leaving now are probably should be leaving. They've all had the talk. And this is the time of the year when the kids go to their position coaches, the kids go to the head coaches and say, tell me what my future is here. And as you're aware, I have kids that are athletes and played college sports, and if you went to their coach and said, hey, what's my future here, and they're like, we got somebody else that's better, you're probably not going to be seeing the field, the ice, the track, whatever it is, I tell them to leave. And frankly, Kirk, I would assume you is you're Bobby Buckeye, but if they told you you're not going to play, we got to whatever, a kid that's better than you, I mean, would you have considered leaving? Would you have gone to Northwestern or Stanford or something else?
Absolutely. You have to. Like if for some reason I would have gotten benched after I got hurt in '05 and they said we're going with Alex Boone, I'm gone. I mean, you have to understand, like, the goal when you go to college football is to get to the NFL. You want to play, I love Ohio State. Ohio State's great, but Ohio State is a means to an end for everybody who's there. Every player that's there is trying to become professional. Now, again, you can make NIL money, so it's a way different proposition than it was when I played. But every coach there, outside of the head coach, is trying to advance their position in life. They're trying to become like Tom Herman. His dream was to become the head coach at Texas. It wasn't to be the offensive coordinator at Ohio State for the rest of his life. So, again, if I would have been supplanted or I wasn't good enough to play there, then I applaud kids that transfer. I applaud kids that, because I don't think you're running. I think that you're chasing your dream. Like, you don't want to be stuck, kind of like a plant in a glass jar, and you hit your ceiling and you can't grow any higher and you're just kind of stuck there. So, like for Devin or for any of these kids, like I don't make fun of the kids that leave. Miles Walker, like, if you're buried in a depth chart, and again, the thing about a lot of these coaches is they're liars. So coaches will lie to you and say, "Oh, you're going to be in this package, and you're our number 3 tackle, or you're in our plans." And then you see how the depth chart shakes out. Because again, this happens at all levels of football. Like when I got to the Denver Broncos at the very end of my career, is the last training camp I ever did. I get there, I meet with Brian Zander, who is the general manager, and he says, "We think you're going to be our backup tackle. You're going to dress on game days. We think you have a bright future. We love you on film. Blah blah blah." So like, I'm like really excited. I'm like, this is great. Denver's beautiful and excited for training camp. I was in great shape. And then I get down to the locker room and it's like, I killed the conditioning test. I'm like the fastest lineman there. And then we get to the locker room and like, I look at the rotation and I'm the 4th string right guard. And I'm like, in the NFL, I'd never been below second string anything. And I was the 4th. And I'm like, okay, so obviously the coaches have different ideas than the general manager, and again, and that's fine. Like, again, I'm a big boy and I don't have feelings. Like if you're a football player, you're not allowed to. You can't have feelings. You can't be sensitive. But it was a way different vision from the GM to the coaching staff. And again, that's fine. That's what football is. And so like I get out to camp and like I barely get any reps. And when I was in every other place I'd been taking a ton of, like when I was with the Detroit Lions, I was taking as many reps as anybody on the team. Playing both tackles, playing both guards, like all over the place. And I got out to Denver, man, and I'm not taking any reps. And I'm like, well, I'm obviously not going to make this team, so I'm just going to ride it out until they cut me, and I'm just going to collect my couple $1,000 a week that you get for per diem in training camp, and then I'm going to go about my merry way. But that's what it is. But again, like if I had been able to transfer from Denver, which you can't obviously leave in the NFL, to go to an organization that's going to actually give me a real shot, I'd have done that. And again, that's what the transfer portal is. Like these kids, I love the transfer portal because kids can't be held hostage. Because I've seen kids that could have played at some point in their careers get buried by coaches that didn't like them or whatever. I've seen kids that probably, if they could have gone elsewhere, that might have had a shot to play in the NFL. Again, the one I always point to is the guy that I played in the Senior Bowl with, a guy named Joe Flacco. You guys all know him. All you Browns fans know him. And Joe Flacco played in the Senior Bowl with me. Or I played with him, whatever you want to say. And he was a kid that committed to Pittsburgh in 2003. We're the same age. And he could not beat out Tyler Palko. Now, Tyler Palko was like hot shot, whatever. Kind of like one of those young, like phenomish type kids. And Flacco couldn't beat him out. So Flacco transferred to Delaware because back when I played, if you wanted to go to another Division I school, you'd have to sit out for an entire year. But if you went to a 1AA school, you were immediately eligible. So Flacco took his 6'6" self and went to Delaware and shredded it, obviously killed it. And, it's funny because you look at our huddle when I was in the Senior Bowl, it's like, a bunch of USC guys, Sam Baker, Fred Davis, all those guys, major colleges. And then there's the Delaware Blue Hens helmet, which was like just stood out like a sore thumb, but he had the best career out of anybody in the entire game. Obviously, I mean, he's the only guy still playing, and he's made $150 million or whatever he's made in his career. He's made a ton of money, won a Super Bowl. So, I mean, who knows? And if he would have sat and been a proud little Pitt Panther and sat behind Tyler Palko for a career, he would have been, schlepping whatever after with his degree, and you would have never known that Joe Flacco existed. So it takes balls to transfer. And I applaud these kids. Again, like a kid like Miles Walker, like he's buried here. Who knows? He might go somewhere and he might do something, and he might start and have a significant career and get a shot at it. So I don't know. It's sad because you want all of these kids to work out, but that's just not reality of major college sports, especially football. Like, I mean, it's like I wish that we'd have Urban Meyer here until he retires and the same staff and win 20 national titles, but everything changes. We'll look up in 5 years and there's going to be all new people in that building, between the players and coaches and whatever. So this is life in the big city. So Nevada, any other thoughts? We can start digging into the super chats that are piling up right now.
Well, I mean, look, have you ever seen so many? I mean, maybe I'm more sensitive. No, I think it's different. Have you ever seen so many transfer portal offensive linemen, like good quality offensive linemen in your life? I mean, this year it's crazy. I mean, there are so many good players, and there's so many good players that have direct Ohio ties, or have connections to Ohio football or Ohio State football. It's a good time for Ryan Day to basically announce we talked about the philosophical changes with the defense after the Oregon change, or the Oregon game rather, where they went to a more aggressive style. They were going to live with more explosive plays, et cetera, et cetera. We've seen the results on the field. They're doing the same thing with offensive line recruiting. They're going to up the numbers. They're going to up their aggression in the portal. And what a good time, because there's a lot of good players in the portal. I mean, I was going through. I know Josh Thompson received some sort of random crystal ball as the big offensive tackle from Northwestern, but there's a lot of guys out there. It's like, again, is it just me, or are there more quality offensive linemen, quality guys, not just big names, but quality offensive linemen than you've ever seen before?
There's a lot of big names, and there's a lot of guys that, frankly, like, I talked to you about this earlier in the last 2-3 recruiting cycles, that like they were guys that we were in on that we did. Peyton Kirkland was one, Cam Dewberry was one, and it's like we were in on them, we didn't get them. The whole world was collapsing, the world was ending, and it turns out they didn't do anything. They didn't, I mean, Cam Dewberry played a little bit at A&M. But like most of these guys, TJ Shanahan's the guy that we were in on. He's at A&M, and they had all three of those guys are from A&M's O-line room, and they all left. So again, I don't know, like it's there's a lot of fallen stars. You see Amari Abar's back in there and J.K. Johnson, but there's a lot of guys that you need to look at. Now I think you have to figure out where they're at, because that's the thing is when these guys are 4 stars or 5 stars coming out of college, like that was a year or two ago, are they still worth that level of consideration? Because you're gonna have to pay these guys to come to your school, and then you have to probably promise that they're going to start. So that's the thing is, like, you're not going to get a portal kid and then you bring him here in the spring and he's 3rd string, 2nd string, whatever competition. So where their heads at.
Can I stop you right there? Because I think it's such an important point, because I think I think you hear a lot of, we need to bring in 4 portal tackles, so we have a starter and a backup, and like, nobody's portaling in to be the backup. Nobody's portaling in to be depth, right? I mean, I'm not wrong on that, correct?
No, you don't leave Texas A&M to come to Ohio State and be a backup. Like, you look at the kids that we brought in from the portal the last 2 years, like Josh Simmons was an instant starter, and so is Seth McLaughlin. Like, they didn't have to earn anything. They walked right in. They were first team from Jump Street, basically. So I think that's something that, because again, when you bring in a portal guy, you're going to lose a guy. If you bring in another one of our tackles will portal out, because they'll think that they have a shot to start, and they really won't. So you have to look at, again, it's not free agency. People think it's like free agency in the NFL where, oh yeah, we can go sign this wide receiver and we'll keep the second receiver and make him our number 2 wide receiver. But no, in reality, this would be like if the Browns signed like, or it's a bad example because the Browns don't have anybody like Justin Jefferson. This would be like if the the Bengals signed Justin Jefferson to pair him with Jamar Chase and have the greatest receiving duo of all time. But you could do that in the league. But in college, if you did that, then Jamar Chase is hitting the transfer portal and leaving to go be a number 1 receiver somewhere else. So that's the thing with the offensive tackles is people are like, well, we just need to go get 4 of them. I'm like, well, here's the thing. There's things you have to remember. Every one of these guys that you sign, you're gonna have to pay. You're gonna probably have to pay them $400,000 or $500,000 to come here, and then you're gonna have to promise they're gonna start. So when some of these guys have not played at all, Cam Dewberry and some of these, or they've played minuscule minutes, and they're also leaving. They're leaving A&M, and Mike Elko is a tough guy, so he's gonna be tough on those kids. And I don't want to know why are you leaving? What's upset you? And I think that's important. Like, do you not like the position coach? Did you not get a fair shake? What's the deal? Why haven't you developed? I mean, because you got to drill in on this stuff because you don't want. We've gotten a lot more efficient with the portal, but we don't need any more Victor Cutlers. Victor Cutler is a kid that we got from Louisiana Podunk Tech or whatever, and he didn't play here at all. He stunk. He's terrible, and we paid that guy real money and. Again, that's got to come out of this coming from somewhere. If you pay a guy, $250,000, $300,000, like that's not free. And then he shows up and he's terrible. So is Cam Dewberry terrible? I don't know. I haven't seen a lot of film of him. A lot of these guys that we were really in on that haven't. Peyton Kirkland's bounced all over the place. Like, is he? I mean, guys are leaving Texas and Colorado and Texas A&M and hoping to get another payday. Like, what's your motivation? So. I don't know. I like getting kids. My favorite kind of kids to get in the portal are, if there's a rare case where you can get an Alabama kid like Seth McLaughlin, you do that all day. But kids that might be coming from a Northwestern who were under recruited, who fit our brand and prototype, and they've got Big Ten film. Like, if you can get a kid from the Big Ten who's got Big Ten film, like that's the optimal solution because you can compare him to the Michigan guys that we couldn't block and. Well, this guy blocked him, so let's plug him in. But I like kids from smaller schools that have been really productive. They've been all conference or all American or whatever. Because I think that they have a better chance of being productive than getting a former 5-star who couldn't crack the lineup at a lesser school and he's upset with whatever and he's going to come in here and he might stink. Again, like Amari Abor was 5-star from Duncanville and the whole world was excited when we got him, and he's transferring again. He's left SMU during the playoffs, and I mean, he stunk when he was here, and he's stunk at SMU, and now he's going to be in the portal again. So, but he was a 5-star. So again, those are the kind of guys I don't want any real part of because I think sometimes that 5-star thing can be a curse if you're not productive with it. Any thoughts on that, Nevada? And we'll start digging into some super chats.
Yeah, no, I mean, give me those all MAC kids. Give me those kids from smaller division school with Ohio. Give me, like I said, the Northwestern kids. I mean, how many times you watch the NFL and they're announcing the starters and they're like, Larry Smith from Abilene Christian College. I mean, it just happens so much that you're like, yeah, give me some of those. I want those small school kids, like you said, that were under recruited. That have developed, and if I could get a kid with a couple of years of eligibility, then you've really hit the jackpot. Because those, the Caleb Downs one where you get him for 2 years is like hitting the lottery like back to back. So if you can get multi-year, not absolute thing, but if you can get multi-year on an offensive lineman on top of that, then you really scored. Because now you've plugged that position for 2 seasons, and you're not having to just constantly go back to the portal year in and year out. So lots of intrigue, but lots of good names, and Ohio State being super aggressive in the portal, and I'm loving it.
Yeah, and something you have to remember is like, the reason why we're kind of up the creek right now at tackles because Josh Simmons got to be way better than even we thought he'd be. I mean, you can't find a projection from when he committed here, last year. He committed after spring. I mean, he didn't get here until after spring ball, so he was a really rare bird. He showed up and won the job in fall camp, but he got so good that he's a first round pick. So I mean, we should have him for a whole nother year, but he got to be too good and declared. So because ideally, like coming into the season, they were probably thinking they're going to have him for another year and see how it goes. But then you would have had a preseason All American left tackle that you got out of the portal, and he's like as great as just to get these guys for 2 years. Like you'd have had him for 3 years, but again, he just excelled, and that's something that it's tough because the lack of depth at like offensive tackle can be, it can sneak up fast if guys develop fast, because like you don't plan on losing Paris Johnson and DeJuan Jones at the same time. I think PJ's probably going to go, but DeJuan developed real quick, and he declared for the draft, and we had to go get Josh Simmons, and we did, and he was fantastic while he was here. He obviously got hurt, so that's going to kind of be the model. It's like you got to go get a mercenary, and like I said, I like getting one mercenary and then getting. You should be able to recruit enough good players that if you have 2 tackles and you have one portal guy, then the other 5 or 6 or 7 guys on the roster, they need to fight it out and win the other spot, and then you got to have your depth guys and try to do it like that. But I think that, the portal is just so, with Ohio State, it's like cheating because you have money and you've got a brand, and kids dream of going to Ohio State. So when you get some of these kids that are, they don't get recruited by Ohio State for whatever reason out of high school, and then they end up going to Montana or wherever, and they dreamt of being a Buckeye, and then all of a sudden they get a chance to bounce back out of the portal and become a Buckeye. I think it's a good thing. I think that it keeps guys on their toes in the program. Again, if I was a player in the team, like I couldn't imagine how you kind of always, have your head on a swivel, because like you don't know who could be coming in to take your job, so you better be training hard and living right and doing the right things, because otherwise they could literally bring in an All-American guy to replace you if they don't trust that you're performing at a high level. And honestly, I'm good with it. Like I look back at some of the guys I played with, and there's some guys I played with that I felt held the team hostage because they did the minimum amount to keep their starting spot or keep their roster spot, and now like those guys can get harvested and moved on from, which again, that's life. It's just like in any other, you guys all work. You guys have all kinds of jobs. I'm sure you people that tune in, you folks that turn to Buckeye Scoop, and if you don't perform, like they're going to find somebody else to do your job. And that's kind of what it is at Ohio State. And the pressure is good. Like I think that these kids, they need to turn up a little bit. But I'm also happy that guys can go find a place to go and perform. All right. Give me the super chats. Ranchit Story, what's up, brother? Thank you for the 10. Tennessee is similar to Michigan in some ways. For example, D-line and rushing offense are its strengths. What lessons from the loss to Michigan can OSU apply to help create a winning game plan versus Tennessee? Nevada, I'll let you take the first crack at this.
Well, I mean, look, they will get the ball more to J.J. Smith. They will push the ball more downfield. And that's going to be one thing that I the over-under on deep shots of J.J., whatever number you want to put, it's probably going to go over that. Ryan's not going to be criticized of being conservative in this game plan. I think that you've got to attack their defense. If you choose to run right at them, much like we did in the Michigan game, while there were some plays that were blocked up, and helping technician did a good job breaking down a lot of stuff, that there were some decisions made by our running backs that, frankly, we would have scored on had they gone, if they cut a different way, but they didn't, and didn't follow the blocks, and the game could have turned out very different, but it didn't. So we move on. But I think you'll see Ohio State attacking them and not sitting back. Ryan's going to go out on his shield on this one. He's not going to hold back. He's not going to be conservative. And I have heard, and what's been communicated to the players is this is going to be 2022 Georgia, 2020 Clemson type of attack, and we'll see. And if it's not, then we can all hurl stones and say Ryan stinks and this, that. But it's not like he hasn't done it before and in big games, because both those games that I referenced were big games. I think that's the way you attack Tennessee, and I think that's what Ryan Day is going to do.
Yeah, like I mean, I don't think he's going to be terrified of losing to Tennessee like he is Michigan, and like I said, I rewatched that Michigan game, and I mean, he is so tight. I'm like, dude, this BU, like we've got better. That's what kills me about Ryan is I'm like, we have better players than they do, and you do the dumbest thing possible versus them. You give them the only chance to win. You let their defensive coordinator off the hook, Wink Martindale, who he was. I mean, I don't know what kind of gift he's going to give to Ryan because they're ready to kill him and run him out of town, and then all of a sudden you basically feed right into the teeth of their defense over and over again, and so you made Wink's life a lot better than it was leading into that game because if we would have hung one on him like like Urban did in 2018, then. Whew, I'm not gonna say he's one and done, but I mean they were ready to kill Wink Martindale. Because this is a team that on the road they lost to Washington, who's terrible, and Indiana's okay, but I mean they beat them, and but Tennessee, this is his Waterloo, man. I mean he's got to show up and get these guys ready to go, and see if the players how much they care about Ryan Day, because again like the players like they're either gonna make Ryan's life a little easier or they're gonna make his life a living hell if they don't show up for this game like they did in the Michigan game. So I think that the Tennessee's defensive line is better than Michigan's in my opinion. Watched it last night. They get upfield. They're very fast. And the thing about them is they're very deep. They run 8 or 9 guys through the rotation. And when I was watching them last night, I was like, I can't believe. I kept looking and I was like, is that number 10 or is that number 27? And they've got 2 330-pound guys that are nose guards that are really good. And 27, their defensive end he's the second best end we've seen all year. The guy from Penn State, I think, is better. But we gotta block these guys. And again, Georgia had a good formula. They moved the pocket. The quarterback ran a little bit. It's a tight game. I mean, that's the thing about these SEC games is it's not Ohio State versus Purdue every week. I mean, these guys, like when Tennessee plays Georgia, like there's legitimate talent and speed all over the field and big time matchups in the trenches. And I know Georgia is Georgia and they're physical, but like their left tackle isn't that great. Right tackle's pretty good. They've got some good interior guys, but Tennessee was giving it to them a little bit up front. So I think Ryan and Chip have learned they got to help the offensive line out. They got to move the pocket a little bit. They got to quick throws. Like the thing about Georgia is they got rid of the ball fast. They weren't screwing around with it, and they let their playmakers make plays. And we've got better skill guys than Georgia does across the board. So just gotta let them make the plays. Like it's not a hard deal. And this is a Tennessee team that I know people are terrified of, but like they lost to Arkansas. So I mean, study what those guys did. But I'm sure that they'll be tuned up. The atmosphere is going to be insane, but I don't know. I'm just super excited to see what this atmosphere is going to be like, because I think it's going to be crazy. A night game in the shoe in December is going to be nuts. Perry Allison, thanks for the deuce. Hope you're good. Marcus Freeman has a real strong offensive line rushing attack at Notre Dame. Nevada, your thoughts on Marcus Freeman's O-line?
I think they do a good job. They've done a good job this year and really made a commitment to the run. And when we played in the last couple of years, I thought their O-line was more than competitive. It's really good play. Obviously, Joel, really good players on it. And no, I like their offensive line for sure. Don't like Marcus Freeman as head coach, but I like their offensive line.
Well, if Ryan does fire Justin Frye, which is a big if, the first guy I'm calling is Joe Rudolph. Joe Rudolph is the offensive line coach at Notre Dame. He was a graduate assistant in 2006 when I was on the team. 05, he was a GA. 06, he was a strength coach for us. And then he started his coaching career. He played at Wisconsin for Barry Alvarez, and then he was with he went with Bill Callahan to Nebraska. He was at Wisconsin with Paul Chryst. Then he went to Pittsburgh, or vice versa. He went to Pittsburgh, then he went to Wisconsin. Then he left Paul Chryst. I don't know if they had a falling out. Went to Virginia Tech for a year. And when Harry Houston retired, kind of at a weird time, I think it was after spring ball, Marcus hired Joe Rudolph. And again, he knew, Marcus played, he was on the team when Joe Rudolph was helping the O-line. So he was familiar. And I'm sure like the thing Marcus is, he probably called Tress and said, hey, who should I talk to? And Tress probably said Joe Rudolph. And Rudy is one of the greatest human beings I've ever been around. he's weird in that he has an MBA from Carnegie Mellon, which you guys that are, academias, Carnegie Mellon is no joke in Pittsburgh. He's a genius, really smart guy, great person. I think he'd be a great recruiter. And like I said, one of, if not my favorite coach, in my top 2 or 3 coaches that I ever was around, and he'd be an incredible add to the staff at Ohio State because he's a great technical guy. Because I mean, you can talk about how Notre Dame's got a great rushing attack. They lost their 2 starting tackles this year, so they're playing freshmen and redshirt freshmen and patchwork guys, kind of like what we're dealing with, and they're buzzsaw teams. They went to Texas A&M and they're starting a freshman, I think, and it was like, you guys have seen the 12th man and the intro, the walk up, and how loud that stadium gets, and Notre Dame out physical to physical Texas A&M team. So again, Rudy, he knows what he's doing. Again, like when you look at the O-line and rushing attack, like a lot of that's a reflection of the offensive line coach. Like, is the offensive line coach soft? Is he legit? And Rudy's a tough dude. And I think he should be, if they had an award for like offensive line coach of the year, it'd be him. Because again, most teams can't lose 2 tackles and have to start 2 freshmen, or they're starting at least 1, I think, true freshman at tackle, and they're buzzsaw teams. I mean, they're really, really impressive, and they just had that one weird loss where they lost to Northern Illinois, but otherwise they'd have ran the table this year. Rohan Vangel, thanks for the 5. Hope you're good, brother. Tennessee will be a defensive game, but their offense can't outscore our offense if we play like we're supposed to in a night game in the shoe. Nevada OH. Yeah, I agree. I mean, we like I said, we can't be tight. And Ryan gets, like I said, I've said it 1,000 times, he's tighter than a drum versus Michigan. And it's stunning how, we, like when you say that JJ Smith did not get a target the entire second half, you're just like, in what universe is that acceptable or appropriate when he's the best receiver in the country? I don't know. He's the one guy that terrifies those guys on the other side. And you basically left them off the hook by running a terrible game plan, running right at their 2 good players, and letting them beat the tar out of our guys up front. So I don't know. Our offense has got to show up. Our defense will show up for sure. They've been nails all season. What are your thoughts, Nevada? Can our offense outscore their offense?
I'm gonna have to. And I think they will. And I mean, look, the crowd's gonna be all liquored up on that Saturday night too. Or it is Saturday night, right? It's a Saturday. Yeah, Saturday night.
Saturday at 8 p.m. I mean, so there won't be any alcohol that survives anywhere within a mile of the stadium. Every bar will be drunk dry for sure.
I want you guys to know that Kirk will be there at noon in honor of the big noon kickoff thing, because he loves the noon kickoff. So he's going to be there at noon.
It's the big 8 p.m. The big 8 p.m. kickoff. The big 8 p.m. I'm gonna have to take a nap so I can stay awake for it. The big 8 p.m.
It's noon somewhere. So, but
yeah.
Kirk, you have to do with the 8 p.m. kickoff. I have a feeling the crowd will be electric. It will be cold, but it's going to be loud, and loud is good. Tennessee has really struggled, on the road, obviously, and against better defenses, and they won't play a better defense this year than Ohio State. So, time to get it done.
It'll be absolutely amazing. I'm so excited for the atmosphere. I think it'll be the best atmosphere in school history, because again, our fans are going to have to get so drunk because it's going to be so cold. It's going to be like 10 degrees. And I hope it's snowing and it's like you're in the middle of Antarctica and we're going to be watching football in December in the Horseshoe. Like, it's going to be amazing. Like, I don't get excited for much. Like, I love going to games. I love studying football and stuff. But, like, I'm genuinely excited to see this environment because I think it's going to be freezing. And I think that the fact that we get another game in the shoe, people aren't going to know what to do with themselves. They're going to be like, it's going to be like Black Friday shopping or something. It's going to be like this mania that people are going to be experiencing where they're like, we thought that the shoe was closed for the winter, and then all of a sudden they reopened it they reopened the Old Girl, and then we got the Winter Classic. So this is going to be a great little winter for the old horseshoe, the old lady. AT, thanks to the deuce. Should Devin Brown have won the job over Kyle McCord? I don't think so. I mean, Kyle's really stepped up and played much better this year than he did last year, but I mean, Devin, like, he had opportunities, and there was a time they're trying to rotate him in and have like a package for him, and he never really did anything with any of it, again. And then they tried to get him ready for the the ill-fated Cotton Bowl that turned out to be a disaster, and he got hurt for that, and he got hurt in spot duty when we tried to run him. The back got broken too, so I don't think so. Like, I mean, there was a lot of rumors that, I mean, and again, it's not. Here's the thing, and this is a good lesson for a lot of people. You know, when we report on stuff like from training camp and we get inside information and we say Devin Brown looks really good and he's really, you know, we had a coach say that he could win the Heisman last year, which is a little crazy. I don't know if they were drinking Jack Daniels and know what it is or what they were doing, but that was a real thing. And we reported some of that, not maybe to that level, but then Ryan Day comes out like a month ago and says, yeah, Devin Brown was like the starter. He was going to be the starter, and then he fell apart and Kyle McCord took the job from him, and something like that, where it was like Devin was killing it in camp. And so the reports were actually accurate, but they just didn't look accurate because when, you know, we get to the season and they would try to put Devin in, like he just never, it never clicked. I was never like, whoa, look at that talent. Whoa, look at that speed. Look at that athleticism. Like, look at that, whatever. But I don't know, just my opinion. Nevada, I think you agree. Do you think Devin Brown should have won the job over Kyle McCord last year? Yes or no?
No, I don't. I thought that the way that they kind of did it was kind of wonky last year, but ultimately, well, I echo everything you said. I mean, you know, Devin had moments. Obviously, he was flashing in practice, led that QB derby for a good portion of fall camp, but then, uh, kind of fell off at the end. And then when he had chances in the game, just couldn't get it done. But I want to segue to quarterback play in general, because we've been having these pretty active discussions on the message board about quarterback play, and somehow now we're the narrative killers. We try to kill the narratives, and it's so funny because for years I was like the only person. Maybe you were there with me. We were the only two people that liked JT Barrett. JT Barrett was like universally hated by the fan. Now it's funny because now all those people that were hating on him, Kirk, they love him. We always loved JT. Oh, JT Barrett was fantastic, great player. But now somehow the narrative, there's a group of people that are going out with that Will Howard is the problem. That Will Howard is the reason that we lost against Michigan. Will Howard is the problem. And I'm like, where does this stupid stuff start, man? Like, there's plenty of blame to go around for the Michigan loss. Like, we could talk the entire show about reasons for the Michigan loss, but blaming Will Howard as the primary reason for that, am I missing something, or is that just stupid?
No, I mean, I blame the coaching staff. I mean, because Will Howard was
Clearly,
instructed. He was instructed to hand the ball off and run it Mason Graham like 10 straight times versus Tigra, which is their best player versus our worst player. And we did that over and over again. We ran draws. We played scared. We punted when we probably should have went for it. We missed field goals. Like, I've got plenty of blame to go around, and none of it's on our quarterback. Our quarterback got hurt early in the game. He took that hit. Then he wasn't the same, but he gutted it out and played. And again, you like at some point you have to like say, okay, let's stop running at their best player. Let's move the pocket. Let's get a little bit more creative, and let's go get a kicker for the love of God. Like, I mean, I watch Clemson hit a 56-yarder. Like, if we had a 56-yarder to win the Big Ten title, our kicker probably would have kicked it into one of the luxury suites. It would have landed in your big popcorn tub or something. It's like we can't hit 30-yard field goals at home to beat Michigan. Clemson gets a guy that hits a 50. And then I watch MAC kickers that have more range than our guys do. And go get one of those guys. Like, seriously. So no, I'm not blaming Will Howard. Again, there's always this portion of the fan base they're the smooth brains that love to blame the wrong people because they don't understand football. But I'm not there. Like, I'm not blaming Will Howard for anything, because I always think like if we never got Will Howard, what would the season have looked like? You know, I mean, and I'm sure Devin might have done something, but he hasn't proven anything yet. And again, I think that the biggest reason why Devin was here this year was because nobody really wanted him. Like, unless you want to go to Iowa and play in the worst offense in America, then maybe. But I don't know. I'm not putting any. I'm thrilled that we got Will Howard, and if we could have a quarterback that was good 80% efficiency, and you know, like, I mean, JJ Smith is the freshman of the year, and unanimously, because you know we had a good quarterback in Will Howard. So I don't know. You could miss me with the BS because I'm just not. I'm not there. But that's how it works. When we lose, somebody has to be blamed, and a lot of times the problem is that people don't know the correct people to blame. And again, I don't like blaming the coaches. I'm a big fan of blaming the players if they're not adequate or if they're not ready to go, or if they don't get the job done. But at some point, it's like the old "fool me once, shame on me," or whatever. "Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me." Like when you figure out that Tiger can't block Mason Graham, you can't keep running behind him. You got to help the kid out, man. I mean, because he's the best you got. He's not good enough, but you got to help him out. You can't just keep putting him in terrible situations. But we did that. And again, we've got a lot of coaches that make a lot of money that have a lot of brain cells, and none of them were seemingly firing during that Michigan game. Because it was, guys, we ran speed option one time, got 20 yards, which is my whole game plan was like, get on the edge. Use your speed. Get Trey out there. Get Quinshon out there. Get a Mecca out. Hand it to Mecca. Like let him get out on the edge. Use your speed. Throw it to JJ. Like we didn't do any of it. We're just like we're gonna run up the middle because again, Ryan Day was terrified of losing to Michigan, and the thing that you can't do is you can't be scared. Like if you're scared, you better go buy a dog. And Ryan Day was scared to death of losing to Michigan. Guess what? He lost. Where as opposed to like when he played the Georgia Bulldogs and he was like loose as a goose and throwing it all over the yard, and the team played excellent. And your players can smell your fear, and the players could tell that Ryan's scared, and that's why they had that knockdown drag out meeting, because he had a scared game plan. Let's run it, let's be conservative, and our overwhelming talent will carry us to a victory. But it didn't work out that way, which again, it's unfortunate because our guys don't get another shot at Michigan. They're not in the tournament, and kind of is what it is. So I don't know. But yeah, I'm not blaming Will Howard for anything in this Michigan game, because when you're handing the ball off in between, and again, I can't blame Trey Henderson and Quinshon for their terrible rushing averages either, because they don't have a chance. So that's my opinion on that. AT again, thanks for the deuce. Give me Howard over Quinn Ewers any day of the week. Nevada OH. Yeah, I mean, I think that's close. Will's a couple years older than Quinn, but he's a year older than Quinn. But I don't, I'd take either of them. They're clearly better than Kyle McCord. I mean, Quinn's gonna, he threw for, they lost to Georgia, and again, the thing I know for a fact is like Texas's fan base hates Quinn Ewers, so our fan base hating Will Howard is kind of like par for the course, got a chalk. Because the one thing I know about major college sports and major college fan bases is that the longer you're out of place, the more likely they're going to hate you by the time you're gone. Because like Quinn Ewers is hated by the Texas Longhorn fans. They all want Arch Manning now. Will Howard is hated by a portion of our fan base, which again, it's sad. But it is what it is. Like that's just kind of reality. It's like people again, this happens every single season, quarterback cycle, whatever you want to call it. People hated Braxton Miller. People are like, Kenny Guyton should start over Braxton Miller. Braxton's not smart enough to run the read option. He can't throw. I heard it all. And I love Kenny Guyton. He's one of the nicest kids ever. But, Braxton had more talent in his big toe than Kenny had in his whole body. Like, let's get serious. Braxton's a 5-star recruit, and then Cardell wins the national championship, beats Alabama, beats Oregon. He's the cock of the walk, toast of the town. And then we get to that next season. And that was the funniest thing ever, is like that next season, Cardell stunk, for the first 5-6 seasons. He didn't lose any games, but the offense was clunky and we had all that talent, and oh my God, we're not going to win a national title, whatever. And people wanted JT. JT goes in there, does really well, but then we obviously, we lose to Michigan State in the rain. So then people hate JT. It's just the cycle, It's just, that's the one thing I know, is that whoever our starting quarterback is will be hated, because that's just part of the gig. Nevada, I think Howard over yours. I mean, that's fine. I mean, I like what Will Howard did in this offense. I don't think I traded for Quinn right now, because Quinn can't run the read option. And the problem with Quinn is he's been frail. I mean, he's gotten hurt a lot, and he's missed a lot of time in his career. But any thoughts on that?
Yeah, no, I like both those guys, but I'd lean to Howard for sure. But it is funny that you brought up the Texas fan. Yeah, Ewers is hated in Texas.
Hated,
because they always They always
Hated.
want the next bright, shiny toy, man. Everybody
Yep.
wants the next big thing is always better than what you have in the room.
Yeah.
No matter what you do, it's always better. And I always said, caution, be careful what you wish for because you might get it. And when you get some of these new shiny toys and you lose some of the old ones, and those guys go to ball out elsewhere, and then you're like, well, why didn't we keep them? And then it just goes round and round, and you start chasing your tail. So you got to be sure if you're doing this stuff. But yeah, I think the quarterback, you want to live long enough to be hated as an Ohio State quarterback, because that just means that you've been around for a while. But you will be hated for sure.
Yeah. Ohio State 614. Thanks for the deuce. Should Aaron Nolan get a shot at QB1? I mean, sure. I mean, when Will's gone, which he's going to be gone after our next, whenever this thing ends up with a loss or we win the national title, like, I mean, it's got to be open between Julian and Tavian St. Clair. I mean, I don't know if Lincoln Keenholz is going to stick. I mean, you got to open it up. Now, again, obviously, if you put, gun to my head, then, Julian Sain's going to be our starting quarterback next year. Like, let's just get serious. But I'd give Air a shot. I mean, he's had a very interesting road so far at Ohio State. He's straightened out a little bit, which is good. He started off terrible, and that's why they went and got Julian. I mean, they weren't planning on taking another quarterback, but Air wasn't great when he first got to campus, and the Nick Saban retires, and Julian Sanders was the portal, and we went after it. And that was the one contribution that Bill O'Brien had, is that he had a relationship with Julian Sanders from recruiting him at Alabama, and sure as can be, it paid off, and we got him signed up here, and then Bill O'Brien left and went to BC, and then we end up with Chip Kelly. So, yeah, I mean, give him a shot. Nevada, your thoughts? Should Eric Nolan get a shot at QB1?
Yeah, I mean, he should, but like you said, we can do this whole pretending thing, but Julian Saint's going to be the starting quarterback next year. I mean, barring some crazy unforeseen circumstance. I mean, Julian Saint's the real deal, and that's not just shiny toy talk, but we'll see, and everybody will see. But then he'll play and he'll be hated, and then we'll be on to whoever the next big thing is. And like I said, probably Tavian St. Clair. We like to, and Brady Edmonds or whatever. I mean, like, we're just going to do it, and so it goes. On and on.
Julian Saint, the next shot to be hated, so he'll be the most hated thing in Ohio. Then we'll have Tate because go ahead.
My favorite thing. I love this. It's like, he's a good quarterback, but he makes one or two bad, questionable plays every game, and it's like, you've just described every quarterback that's ever played the game to the history of time. Show me. I keep asking, who's the quarterback that doesn't make one or two bad plays a game? Who is that? And no, I can't get a name from anybody. And I'm like, guys, then you realize your standard's impossible. What was Mahomes is leading the NFL in interceptions for a while? And I mean, great quarterbacks make mistakes. Every quarterback makes some head scratchers. Everyone. So it's not unique to Will Howard. I promise you. He's not the only one who puts the ball in harm's way sometimes.
Yes, that is part of playing quarterback. It's like a goalie that allows a goal. The goalie allows a few goals every now and again. It's like, yes, every goalie allows goals.
Yes, it happens.
Part of the criteria.
Exactly.
Lisa Shear, thanks for the 5. If you're the O-line coach, would you start new guys in positions or just solidify the guys who started against Michigan? What are the pros and cons? Well, that's a great question. I appreciate you, Lisa, being on here as always. It really depends on the guys. And again, that's not a cop-out, but it just depends on, is Josh Padilla more stout at center? Is Luke Montgomery good enough at left guard to put Austin Seyerveld at right guard? I think this really comes down to, you have to get Tigre to be motivated to actually want to do something and not be lazy and average. So, and again, I'm hard on Tigre because he's got ability, but it's like, at some point, you got to care about football. And football, if you love football, it'll love you back. But he, I think they're trying to light a fire under him. And I said, I said for, since the Michigan game, like, you got to threaten people's jobs. Like, when they're not performing and it's not important to them. And I know way more than I let on. So you got to figure out a way to light a fire. So if it's Luke Montgomery playing left guard and you put Austin Seyerveld at right guard, or you put Padilla at center and you put Carson at left guard and Seyerveld at right guard, like, whatever the combination is, like, you got to figure it out. Again, Tigre's the guy that's got to get figured out if he wants to be good or not. And that's it's the unfortunate thing. It's like right now, like it'd be if we still had Seth McLaughlin and Josh Simmons, then it's easy. You just put Carson at right guard and bench Tiger, and then away you go, and you got a pretty strong line. But those guys are gone; they're not coming back. So, and again, this is I said it's so funny. I said on Friday, like the college football playoff will be a war of attrition, and sure it's going to be the next day. The starting quarterback for Georgia is out for the playoffs. They got to run with the backup, so that's going to be the story of this thing. People are going to lose players, and guys are going to get hurt, and these are going to be big physical games. Like if you're Ohio State or Oregon, you're going to have to go see Texas. You're going to have to go see Georgia. You're going to have to see each other. So it's going to be a tough road. And there's going to be physical football, and guys are going to get hurt, and kind of away you go. But if it was up to me, I mean, I would solidify the guys, because the hardest part for me is like, do you really, as bad as Tigres been, do you want to run out a guy who's never played before in his first game in the playoffs versus Tennessee? Which, I mean, that's not Akron, that's not Purdue, that's not like one of these turd. I mean, that's a real front, and the guy that's going to be playing over the right guard is a very good player, number 10. So I don't know. I mean, that's something that you got to see how these guys are doing in practice. And, I wish Luke was further along. I think Luke's got talent, but I don't think he's strong enough to play guard, and he's not tall enough to play tackle. So he's kind of a tweener kid that they're trying to teach to play center. I think that Padilla is kind of like a fire. He's like a stump. I was going to say like he's like a fire hydrant type guy, but just it depends. Like it's open season inside that Woody Hayes for guys to take jobs. And again, if I was some of those guys, I don't think I'd leave the Woody Hayes. I'd be sleeping there. I'd be working out 3 times a day. I'd be doing everything I could to try to take one of those jobs, because it's open season, and that's why it's up to Justin and Chip Kelly. And again, and you have to protect these guys too. You have to move the pocket. You have to get rid of the ball quick. Because sometimes it's on the quarterback, not really often with Will Hard, but like some of these guys, they'll hang on the ball for too long, but get rid of the ball fast. I mean, you got JJ and Mecca, those guys can win quick in their routes, so just get them the ball and get it out in space and help the line out. Because, again, these guys, they want to block for them. Now, you just got to figure out if they're the right guys. But yeah, the con is, do you want to run a kid out there? Because again, we just saw it last year where we put Matt Jones at center and we put Enoch at guard, and we for some reason Justin Fry and Ryan Day thought that was going to be progressive and helpful to the team, and it's the worst line performance we've had in a decade, because Matt didn't know the calls and Enoch was terrified, and it was a disaster. So that was their thought. I mean, they put Enoch out there twice in his career, and both times he was terrified and terrible. So that's the kind of the thing, is like when people want to try something new, sometimes whoever's new isn't up to the task, or they're just not any good. Your thoughts, Nevada, on switching out guys on the O-line or keeping the current guys in place?
Yeah, I mean, that is the question. I mean, this is one of the ultimate ones where they're going to be trying this stuff in practice. And somebody who played a lot, I mean, sometimes that's what you got to do. You got to go into the lab, you experiment with things, you throw guys out there, and they're just going to see what works. And so right now, it's a little scary. I mean, the kind of the reminders of the Cotton Bowl are still dancing in a lot of people's heads right now, and especially with a center like that with Padilla. So, you're asking me, I'd love it if they could just make the existing guys better, but they're testing this stuff out. They're going best on best, doing a lot of one-on-one stuff, and we'll see what happens. And hopefully they come up with a winning formula with something that kind of integrates everybody's strengths. And and as HT mentioned, maybe that involves a jumbo package as well. So we'll see what they come up with. But this is really going to be a great coaching test for Ryan Day, Chip Kelly, and for Justin Fry. Kind of the ultimate test.
Oh, Schmidbauer killing my boy Tizzle, Andre Tyree, Chris Schmidbauer, Woody Hayes, athletic center legend, one of the great ones. Appreciate you, my dude. Thanks for the 10. His favorite Andre, and you know what? I got to put Tizzle on the screen. Let's put Tizzle back on the screen. There's Tizzle, our boy Andre Tyree. Favorite Andre Tyree story. He was going to grab a bag lunch. Bob Tucker, God rest Bob Tucker's soul. He was hilarious. He was a great dude. Looked at him and said, "The only thing you've ever contributed to the team is slimming down our food budget." Wow. Tuck has some one-liners now. He worked for Earl Bruce, and he's a crusty old dude. God rest his soul. But that is an amazing anecdote, Schmitty. We used to call Tyree Jazzy Faye. Jazzy Faye was like a fat rapper from back in our days, and he looked like him because he'd wear the glasses and he had like the little flat bill hat that used to be cool with the do-rag underneath, and that was Tissel's thing, man. And I just remember it was like, oh my God, I was so excited for him because I was like, I can't believe how good he did in the game. And then like the next week he was gone. It was like they sent him to the cornfield. He got the positive drug test. Like I was like, oh, I guess he must have celebrated a little too hard with the marijuana. Which again, it's just funny. I look at how many guys we lost. I was thinking about this today, where we lost so many good players to weed during my career at Ohio State, and they don't even test for weed anymore at Ohio State. So we lost like Eugene Clifford, and I mean he was a 5-star like Sean Taylor type safety, and gone. He had three fails in a season, which I think that might be an Ohio State record. But we lost a really good Marcel Frost, who would have been a really good player. A bunch of guys that they couldn't put it down, and it sucked because like I know that in the SEC, like with the Florida Gators and some of those teams, like those guys never drug tested their team. So like we used to, the thing the one thing I hated about Ohio State was that we did everything the hardest way possible. Like we would drug test the crap out of our guys, and I'm like, can you just let these guys smoke and like enjoy their lives and be happy? Like they're fine. Like, it's like we can go drink as much as we want, but these guys aren't allowed to smoke. And a lot of the guys they like to smoke. It's a cultural thing, whatever. So like we would have these guys failing tests like left and right. And a lot of that was your guy, Gene, because when Gene Smith showed up in 2005, the first thing he did was he made our drug testing budget went from like $25,000 to $250,000. This is in 2005. So we were getting tested like every single week. And I'm like, oh my God, this is terrible. This is not good for the old roster management. And it wasn't. And we lost some good guys, lost a lot of manpower. But Schmidbauer, you were there for that. I'm sure you remember that. After this is great. Thanks for the deuce. Can OSU hire more consultants for the college football playoff like the Charles Bentley? Yes, absolutely. There's no limit on coaching anymore, so you can hire 1,000 coaches if you want to. Now, there's obviously diminishing returns at some point, and there's budgetary concerns, but Charles consults for Arizona State. He consults for Oregon. They're doing pretty good, last I checked. Michigan wants them to consult. Ohio State does not want him to consult, so it's whatever. It's their decision. Like I said, I don't care. I think if I ran the program, if I ran any program, the first thing I would do is hire Charles to do something to work with my guys, because he knows what he's doing. He'll make your line strong. And he's the guy that he puts in crazy work. Like I was texting him at 4 a.m. because we were both up, getting ready to work out, and he's always on, and he's always studying, and he's always looking for better ways to do things. And, he's just wicked smart. Again, I always learn a ton of stuff every time I talk to Charles, because he doesn't just like study O-line play and watch clinic tapes. Like he studies like the biomechanics of the human body and how to make it more efficient for pass protection and stuff that like I never thought to do. Even as a coach, I wasn't thinking. I was like, well, I got to figure out the kinetic whatever. But he's like a wizard when it comes to that stuff. So I always learn new stuff from him. And again, I don't know if maybe our line's got it all figured out, and maybe we're just strong enough and good enough at the point of attack, and we don't need any help. But hell, he played at Ohio State. He's got a major trophy in the hallway sitting there. But it is what it is. Like, and he wants practice, and that's great. But I would wear him out. And the thing where I think he would really help is recruiting, because he just is so. He's got such a different worldview, because he was obviously a second round pick, and he should have been a first round pick, and got that huge second contract. And then he tore his knee on the first day of practice and never played again. And it was just, it was a tragedy, but he's turned into, like a dynamic, offensive line guru. So he kind of like, it wasn't sure what he was going to do after football, but then he found his calling, and he's been really good at it. And he's got a sports agency, and he does stuff with NIL. And he's kind of jack of a lot of trades at this point, which is really cool. Because again, like but he's all O-line. Like he doesn't represent anybody except for offensive linemen. So it's a cool little system. But yeah, they can hire as many guys as they want. Nevada, any thoughts? Because I know that they lifted that cap, but Ohio State can hire whoever they want, correct?
Correct.
No. Okay. Sean, thanks for the deuce. Can't stand Kirk Herbstreit, as pompous as they come. Nevada, I'll let you take this one because that's your favorite. That's your real favorite Kirk. You just don't stop hiding.
I mean, there's a reason why he was nicknamed Judas around the program. I mean, he's just hated, guys. I mean, I know people are like, oh, I love Herbie, and I, I mean, his kid just went to Michigan, and I know it's your kid, and I know we can all say, well, our kids are their own kid. If my kid said they wanted to go to Michigan, I'd be like, no. And I've just gone through. I just went through a recruiting process with one of my kids, and she could have chosen any school she wanted to, but she wasn't going to Michigan. There's just certain things where you're like, no, not Michigan. You can go anywhere you want, but you're not going to Michigan. So for the fact that Herbstreit that a Herbstreit kid feels like it's okay to go to Michigan, I just think it actually does say something about Herbie and where he's at and how he feels about the Buckeyes. And I I, I that's all I'm going to say because I don't like him personally because I think not he doesn't play it straight. Let's put it that way. You don't ever get from him what he's really feeling.
Well, yeah, and I think that there's been times where he's been over the top harsh on Ohio State because he doesn't want to have that Buckeye homerism he's scared of what people. The problem with him is he cares what people think about him, and that's something when you're in his position where you're doing Monday Night Football and you're doing all these college games, you're on game day, like you can't be obsessed with what the crazies think of you, and he was again like he would go out of the way to bash Ohio State or kill Ohio State. And I remember when I was a player, coach, he was all over Tressel during the Tressel Gate, the Tattoo Gate stuff, and never really forgave that. I mean, he didn't have to. I mean, you can be critical, but there's a line, and he was way over the line some of the times. And I remember Eddie George was over the line at times. There's a lot of guys that were over the line, but Herbie was kind of leading the charge at that. And I don't know, because Lou Holtz has made a lot of money, when he was working at ESPN, and he was always a Notre Dame honk and homer, and no one ever killed him for it, and nobody cared. Like, you're allowed to root for your alma mater. Like, nobody kills Desmond Howard for being Mr. Wolverine, but Kirk Herbstreit tries to be like a different deal. And again, that's fine. Again, it's just funny. There are a lot of people that they worked with him coming up through the ranks at 10 TV and at the Fan that they're not fans. I mean, you just ask Torg and Common Man and Torg. I mean, those guys kill Herbstreit. When I talk to those guys, and they were no holds barred today for sure. But yeah, I think it's just something if your kid ends up going to Michigan, even if they offer him a scholarship, because for one, he's going to the same class as Bryce Underwood, so he's never going to play. I don't know. It's a weird situation. Like I would never want my kid to go to Michigan because I hate Michigan, and it would be it'd be very difficult for me to be a parent and go sit in the Michigan parents section and listen to the fight song and clap when that team ran out of the tunnel. Like I couldn't do it because you guys know a lot of stuff about me. I'm not fake. It's hard for me to be fake. I like being true to myself. I like being honest, and I just don't. I couldn't do it. I don't like seeing the team run on the field in the horseshoe. I definitely like seeing them happy. So I could imagine if my kid was one of the kids dressed in that outfit and running out on the field with that stuff on, and can you imagine your kid running out on the field at the horseshoe and he's in Michigan gear, he's with the Michigan team? I could imagine that.
It just wouldn't happen. And the thing is, my kids, no, there's a line. I'm the biggest proponent of let your kids be themselves, let your kids pick their own schedules, let the kids choose their own lives. But that's the one life choice that they would understand would be an absolute bright line that would be absolutely unacceptable to do. And it would be insulting to me. And I think they'd have too much respect for the parent. My kids have had too much for their parents to do that. And, I think when you do that, you're just basically, you're thumbing your nose at everybody in Ohio when you do that, because the kid's never going to play. He stinks, and he's going. So why go there other than just to flip off the state of Ohio? And that's what he's doing.
Yeah, and I think that's the problem. Like I said, I couldn't imagine my kid committing there and me being okay with it, or I don't know. Like, especially when you're from Ohio. Like, I mean, come on. Like, that's like you already know the stigma that comes when you're the Ohio guy that goes to Michigan, and then
No, but if Little Kirk's playing it, and Little Kirk stunk. Little Kirk didn't have the genetic gifts of mom and dad, and for whatever reason, and he's a fourth stringer, and he's like, Dad, I'm going to go walk on at Michigan. Wouldn't you just step in and go, what are you doing? Why on earth would you go walk on somewhere else? Go
well,
walk on at Purdue or.
I mean, I just tell him like, look, well, like, you can do that, but I'm never going to come to your games. I'm not going to go to your senior day. I'm not going to root for you. I mean, and again, like, I'm serious. Like, this isn't like me being tough or whatever. But it's like I'm just not going to do it. I mean, if you want to do that, if that's how you feel, then that's fine. I mean, you can do whatever you want. It's free will. When you turn 18, you're out the door. You can do whatever you want. But like, I'm not going to Michigan Stadium and rooting for them and senior day. And again, that won't change. That's not like it's because again, if you've got a Michigan offer, you've got other scholarship offers. So it's not like
exactly
the only. That's not like, it's not like it was them or Akron. I'm sure that there's something common. No, probably not Ohio State, but whatever. It's just weird. Herbie's a weird dude. Madamus Prime Entertainment, thanks for the 5. Is it just me, or did we draw the team built closest to Michigan in the playoffs? I don't think. I mean, I think their quarterback's obviously much better than Michigan's. I think Tennessee would dog walk Michigan. I think Tennessee's much better than Michigan, honestly. This team beat Alabama. This seems good. I think they're just much more talented than Michigan. It's just hard because we lost to Michigan because we had the dumbest game plan in Ohio State history. And again, I think that Ryan decided if we did the most vanilla, boring game plan ever, we'd still have the talent to overwhelm them, and we weren't creative. And again, I've watched the tape, so it's not like I'm just riffing. Like, this is like I just can't believe that was what we thought was what we should do versus that team, but we did, and here we are. But I don't know. I really don't study a lot of college football outside of Ohio State, so I don't know if there's a team. But again, in terms of just having a terrible quarterback and being built to run and stop the run, like maybe, but I'm not sure. Nevada, is there a team in the playoffs that you think might be closer to Michigan? I'm not sure.
I mean, they're very similar to Michigan. They do a lot of the same thing. Great defensive line, like to run the football. But I'd probably say Boise State is probably more like Michigan. But the point's well taken. I mean, it's going to be a really good defensive line and a really deep defensive line. And if you choose to run right at them, you're playing into their hands. So, Ryan, you and Chip, get into your bag, figure it out. Don't attack them that way. There's about a million different ways you can attack a defense other than straight ahead. And let's go get some. And the crowd's going to be liquored up. It's going to be cold. It's going to be dark. It's going to be a lot of fun. And I can't wait. I'm excited for it.
Yeah, MT3, Brian, thanks for the 10. Appreciate you, my friend. I've said it before. If Ryan has the mindset he had against Georgia 2 years ago, in these playoffs, the Buckeyes will roll. Nevada OH. Yeah, he has to have that mindset in every big game where he's just not scared and he's not a coward and he's not worried about what people think. And I just think in this Michigan game, man, he wanted to get in there and be as safe as possible and conservative as possible and play for field goals. And, we're so good and our defense is so good that we'll be able to suffocate them and get out of there with a 1-point win. But they just didn't materialize. Like again, the fact that we didn't throw it to JJ a single time in the second half is insanity. It just is. But again, I'm sure that will not be the case going forward versus Tennessee, because you got to give JJ about 15 targets easily. Goldfish, thanks to the 5. Naples here. We expecting to see more of a gap scheme attack. It seems like zone runs require combo blocks and O-line is challenged executing. Well, gap schemes generally, you usually have a front side double team. Zone scheme, you can have a double team front or back side, but our combo blocks are terrible. And that's something I've harped on. A combo block is short for combination. Combination's a double team. We're not good at it. Sometimes we're just not physically good at it. And other times we go to the wrong guys. So I was watching like Indiana and Michigan film, and like we still don't go to the right guys sometimes, which is crazy for week 12. But our guys have got to figure out where to go, so we're not just leaving guys free in the hole. But I think that the zone stuff can run, but you got to get more outside with it. You need some more outside zone and less of the tight zone, which is like the inside stuff. This game, I mean, this game's much different to me than Michigan because their ends are much better. And 27, who is their first round end, who's got 10 sacks on the season, is a monster. So you can option him. I would cut him probably every play and see if he wants to tap out. But this isn't like Michigan. Michigan has like get on the edges. These guys, they're not weak anywhere on the D line like Michigan was. So, we could do some gap, but we're not running we didn't run a lot of our counter stuff where they pull the guard and tackle at the same time. There's a lot of stuff that was kind of missing. We left a lot of meat on the bone, but our combo blocks are terrible, and that's something I've been talking about for 2 years now. Where our guys are terrible with their hands, and their combo blocks are terrible. And again, I don't know what they do in individual, but I would really work on getting these guys' hands going, because if you don't play with your hands versus Tennessee, man, it's going to be ugly, because these guys, their guys are big and powerful, and they come up the field, man, and they are coming with a vengeance. And they were knocking Georgia's guys back, and wasn't pretty sometimes. But Georgia's guys, they made plays. Like again, that's the thing is, you can get through it if you get rid of the ball fast, and back their quarterback was getting rid of it quick. And Georgia, like I said, Georgia won, and it was convincing, and they held 27, who's a really good end, to 0 sacks. So. But he is still a problem, and these guys move all over the place. So this is the best line we've seen by far, better than Penn State, better than Michigan. But our guys can get after it. So, I think that I think you need to throw it more in this thing. As much as I want to talk about zone runs and gap scheme attack, which again I appreciate that the difference between the two. I really do, but I think that you gotta air it out, and you got to get these guys out on the edge a little bit more. Nevada, any thoughts on gap scheme versus zone scheme? I'm not sure if you want to chime in on that too much.
But I do want to mention, like, to your point about Ryan. I mean, look, Ryan. The best thing about Ryan, and I think people point to a lot, is that Ryan doesn't lose to these overmatched opponents, and that Ryan, he didn't lose to Purdue, he didn't lose to Iowa like Urban Meyer did, and it's because Ryan isn't like, he doesn't have fear against those teams, so he coaches fearlessly. And he just needs to incorporate that into the whole thing. This game, run the RPO stuff. Don't be afraid. I don't care if we run for 10 yards in the game. Just win. And, don't attack their strength. And I think, you talked about getting the ball out of the edge, creating indecision on the part of the lineman. That's all what RPO does. Let's get back to that. We were running RPO stuff like crazy at the beginning of the year. And I don't say we've stopped, but I mean, we've gotten rid of about 90% of it, and I still haven't heard a satisfactory explanation as to why. Because I think that's really the key to beating a team like Tennessee with a great defensive line, is RPO those guys to death.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's going to be something that's going to be very interesting. Like I'd RPO those guys to death, because I think that's the key. Because you can get it to JJ, or you can hand it to Trey, or you can run it. T Sunday next for the 5. How big of an advantage do you think the actual cold weather is for Ohio State? Do you think it's worth a point on the spread? I don't think it's a huge advantage for us, because Tennessee's not exactly, that's not, Brazil or anything. I mean, it's not like it's the tropics. It's cold in Tennessee. So I don't think it's going to be a huge advantage for us. If we're playing the Hurricanes, it might be a bigger advantage, but I think it might be worth a point. I think that how loud our stadium is going to be even a bigger advantage. I think our stadium's going to be electric. I can't wait. And I'm sure Tennessee's going to be trying to gobble up some tickets, because we only gave them like 3,500 tickets, but I'm sure they'll be buying them on the secondary market. But yeah, Nevada, what are your thoughts? Do you think the cold weather is an advantage for Ohio State? And do you think it's worth a point on the spread?
Yeah, I think it's probably worth a point. I think the whole package, the night game, obviously the home game, the cold weather, it's definitely worth 3 points, maybe even more. So I think for Ohio State, the crowd's going to be a big issue in terms of carrying them to this game. I mean, we'll see if their offensive line can, pull it off and, be as, the question is it going to be like Michigan, where they made no mistakes, or like Indiana where they made a bunch of mistakes, and we'll find out. And a lot it's gonna. I think as good as the crowd was against Michigan, I think a night game on a Saturday night, it's just going to be exponentially better. And I think that's 3 points to the Buckeyes for sure.
Well, yeah, and it's going to be freezing, so people are going to be they got to yell to stay warm, right? Yeah, it's going to be
Yep.
pretty cold out there. Matt Crawford, thank you for the 5. Appreciate you, my friend. Any historical what ifs in the last 20 to 30 years if the current transfer portal rules applied? Despite hating him as a person, mine would be Ben Roethlisberger. Well, I don't know if he's an Ohio State fan. For some reason, I think I heard that he wasn't. But yeah, I mean, there's tons of guys that could have probably, would have came here that we missed on that would have been huge ads. I mean, you think about a lot of these MAC guys, like, like a guy like Randy Moss. Randy Moss was at Marshall, for God's sakes. Like, I mean, we'd take him in a heartbeat, or Chad Pennington, or I don't know. I mean, that's, they're a couple hours down the road. I mean, I think John Cooper would have gone all in on getting those two guys, but Jason Taylor at Akron was an obvious one. You add him to the Silver Bullets. I'm just thinking of MAC guys in Ohio, basically, that could have been massive players. I mean, there were some really good guys that I played when I was at Ohio State. There were lineman Corey Lichtensteiger was at Bowling Green, a really good player, played in the NFL for a long time. Mike McGlynn was from Pittsburgh. He was from Fitch. He could have played at Ohio State and started at guard for us. A lot of those guys, they get out and they go elsewhere. Nevada, I'm sure I'm missing a bunch of guys that might have gone to lesser schools from Ohio that could have transferred into Ohio State. Are there any guys you can think of off the top of your head?
Luke Kuechly. I'd like Luke Kuechly back to Ohio State.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was a pretty good one. That one, or I mean, like there's
there's just Antoine Winfield Jr.
Oh my God, yeah, that would have been. But we called that one in real time. We were calling for that one.
Who knew that he would be any good?
Yeah, no kidding.
Nobody. We took Marcus Hooker, I think, or somebody like that. I was like, oh my God, woof. Yeah, that's a great question, though. I appreciate that. But in the chat, I want you guys to type who are some guys that would have been like Mac.
Oh, wait a second. There's only one answer. There's really only one. Nick Samac. Nick Samac would have been. How did we miss on that guy?
How did we survive on him? And who's the other guy? God, the other guy that went to Michigan State that we'd never. Oh my God! Like, he didn't even get NFL minicamp invite. He was so bad.
Nick Samac. That's what we needed.
There's no chance we'd survive.
What was the other guy's name? I was spacing on that one.
I'm dying right now because he's a Michigan State kid. He was in Smith's class and we didn't get him, and it was like, well, we didn't get this kid.
JD Duplain.
JD Duplain. How would we ever survive without JD Duplain? Cancel the season. Cancel the program.
So maybe transfer portal. We had gotten those two kids, man. Everything would have been different.
And instead, we got Luke Whippler, who went to the league after 3 years as a 6th-round pick, and
DeJuan Jones.
Yeah, like we really whiffed on those picks. It's terrible, terrible. Erwin Lichtenberg, thanks for the 5. Guys, we still don't have a 40-yard field goal kicker or punter for that matter. How the F do you plan for Natty without those pieces? I don't know. I mean, I don't know how we can't find a punter. And the funny thing is, like, Michael O'Shaughnessy, who we chased out of here, went to Charlotte. He was at Michigan State last year, didn't do well. They went to Charlotte this year. And he hit a 77-yard punt the day that we lost to Michigan. He set the school record. So Michael's I've known Michael since he's a little kid. He's like 6'6". He's huge. But he broke all the punting records, and I don't know. I'm sure he's going to try out for the league. I don't know if he'll make it. I mean, being a kicker in the NFL is so hard. There's only 32 spots at punter or kicker. But he's got a powerful leg, and we could have used that to flip the field for sure. But yeah, I don't know. You can't add a kicker or punter now, and they turned down the Groza guy to keep Jaden Fielding, who's been terrible this year. But I don't know. Nevada, your thoughts on us not having a kicker that can hit a 40-yard field goal or a punter? You're muted. Much like our ability to make a field goal versus Michigan.
No. Let's be fair about Fielding. we pride ourselves on being fair on the show, and
Yep.
he's 54 for 54 or whatever it is on extra points for the season, and he was 8 for 9 coming into the Michigan game. So that's pretty. Now he didn't have a good game against Michigan. Now Will Howard didn't have a good game against Michigan. Chip Kelly didn't have a good game against Michigan. Ryan Day certainly didn't have a good game against Michigan. So as much as we bag on the field goal kicker, I mean, he's 50. To say that he's not having a good year, not having a good year is Mike Nugent circa freshman year at Ohio State. That 7 for 14 is not having a good year. Fielding had a bad day, but he's had a good year. So let's at least be fair. I mean, agreed?
Oh, of course. As long as we don't have to judge guys against Michigan, I'm good with that.
that can't be the sole criteria, because in that case, Andre Tyree is the greatest lineman in the history of Ohio State football.
Give him my tree. I'm fine with it. Give him my tree.
No, whoa, yeah, okay, Archer. Yeah, don't start with my tree stuff.
The Andre Ty tree. It'll be the Andre Tyree tree. The Tyree tree.
I think it's fair. He should share. He should share in our tree.
Oh,
Andre, if you hear this thing, you've probably got more run tonight, Andre, than you've ever gotten in the history of the internet.
Easily.
If you hear this thing, meet us 2 hours before, but 3 hours before the kickoff.
Add us on LinkedIn. Add me on LinkedIn, Andre. I haven't seen you in
3 hours before the game at the tree, and we will officially invite you into the brotherhood of the tree and give you your little limb and stuff like that, because for his play against Michigan, he deserves part of our tree.
I will buy him a flat brim St. Louis Cardinals hat. He used to wear every day.
I like that.
I don't think he's ever been to St. Louis, but he liked the hat. He liked the logo.
I think
it's because Nelly used to wear it or something. John M. thanks for the 5. Skeptical on crowd size for the UT game. Students on break. People away for holidays in very cold weather will all affect the crowd size. Dude, this stadium is going to sell out so fast. It's going to be crazy. Now, I'm sure, again, I'm not stupid. Tennessee's fans are going to buy up a lot of tickets because I'm sure a lot of them have never been to the Horseshoe, probably dying to see the Horseshoe, and it's the first playoff game they've ever played in. So I make no bones about the fact there's going to be a lot of orange in the stadium. But I'm excited it's going to be, again, I don't, if you're not excited for a playoff game in December in the Horseshoe, I don't know if you're dead or what it is, but I'm excited. And these guys have an opportunity to right some wrongs, correct some scores, or they can crash and burn. So again, I'm gonna be there to watch all of it. Again, if I'm one of these captains, man, I can't wait till kickoff. Like I'm studying film, going to bed, getting 10 hours of sleep, getting extra workout. It's because like this is what an incredible opportunity these guys have. So I don't know. That's how I look at it. I mean, these guys lost on senior day with their moms and dads and hugs and kisses and photos in the shoe, and they have a chance to right that wrong. So again, I don't know what more motivation they need, because and I'm a living, breathing example of it sucks to lose your last game in the Horseshoe, because it's your last time ever, and it's a stain that you'll never get off, and it's going to annoy you for the rest of your life every time you walk in. Every time I walk into there, I'm like, damn, the last time I was here, last time I was here as a player, we lost. So of course, I go back from Tennessee game. The last time I was actually there as a spectator, we lost too. So, but they have a chance to right that. Nevada, your thoughts on the crowd size for the Tennessee game? Students will be on break and people will be away for the holidays, but come on, it's the 21st. Nobody's gonna. Christmas is until the 25th. I mean, I don't know if you're taking a 2-week holiday, and if I had some sort of holiday plans for around Christmas, I'd cancel them or I'd fly home because I'm going to the Ohio State game. I don't care about. I mean, I can drink eggnog any time of the year. I'm going to go watch this game. Your thoughts? Do you think the cold weather and the people being away will affect the crowd size?
No. I do think you make a good point about Tennessee having more fans, and again, we got to represent. Don't sell your tickets to Tennessee people. Show up to the game. Be loud. Do your part, or don't complain about the Buckeyes if you don't. So you got a role to play in this one for sure.
Yeah, Tennessee's going to try to take the stadium over. There's no doubt. B-Man, only person to blame is Ryan Day. He put his ego in front of his team again. We'll be fine if he ever stops trying to prove that he's really a tough guy. I agree. Again, he's Marty McFly, man. When they call him tough, man. It's like when they call Marty McFly chicken in the movies. You guys can go watch Back to the Future 1 and 2. They call him chicken. It's like the end of days. So with Ryan, it's like Ryan gets triggered by people calling himself like Lou Holtz, who's 97 years old. Like, you just can't, if you're really a tough guy, then it doesn't bug you if someone says that you're soft. Like, someone calls me soft, like, that's great. What else are you going to say? That I'm small? I don't know how else you're going to describe me that's going to hurt my feelings. But yeah, he's got to just let Chip call the game and let this thing ride. Because again, that killed us. Like, and again, in football, like, don't let the other team's best players beat you. And that goes, you always talk about stopping a good wide receiver or a good running back, but it goes defensively too. Like, if team's got an amazing cornerback or a great defensive lineman, like, don't let that guy have the opportunity to make plays. And we did that. And it was disappointing to say the least. Nevada, B-Man says that the only person to blame is Ryan. Put his ego in front of the team. We'll be fine if he ever stops trying to be a tough guy. What are your thoughts?
I agree. I totally 100% agree. I think that really is a problem for him, and I hope he gets through it. And you may not be soft, but you are cuddly, there, Kirk. And you do like being called the big cuddly bear. I know you do. You say all the time, "Oh, I don't want to be called." You do like it. I know you
literally
do.
don't even I don't even sleep. I literally sleep in a single bed by myself right now because I've got an infant and I get my 4 hours of sleep in privacy. So I don't cuddle with anything other than I'm even in a twin bed right now. So I'm not even in a big bed. So there's no room to even cuddle anything. So I guess that's
You don't have a dog. You're not cuddling a dog. You don't have a dog down there.
No,
dogs.
my dogs sleep in their dog beds. They don't. I mean, there's no room in this bed. It's literally a twin bed. So it's like there's no room in it. So my kids are taking over.
We're gonna do a GoFundMe for Kirk so he get a bigger bed. And it's like Kirk needs a bigger bed.
I don't want it. I don't have it's not a comfortable bed either because I specifically don't want a comfortable bed because I don't want to sleep. I want to be up and being productive and being on that grind. John,
you can sleep when you're dead.
That's
sleep
right.
when you're dead. Yes.
That's right. If I have to watch this run up the middle, if we run up the middle versus Tennessee, I got about 2 weeks to go. So I hope you guys spread my ashes on the tree. John Bruce Ferguson, thanks for the 5. Chip has coached in many places and positions. Doesn't look like dude has won anything anywhere in his tenure. Does that worry you that he's our OC? I mean, he's coached at places that haven't been good. Like ever. I mean, Oregon was like, with Bellotti, they were kind of on the come up, and then Chip kind of raised the profile up. I just, I don't, it's not like he's been at Alabama or he's been at some Texas or traditional powers. I mean, he was his first year with the Eagles, I mean, they went from being atrocious on offense to being really good. And then the wheels kind of fell off after that. He went to San Francisco, and San Francisco, he had Kaepernick and Blaine Gabbert. So he had 2 terrible quarterbacks, and and they were starting Blaine Gabbert by the end of the season. So, I mean, in the league, if you don't have a quarterback, you have no chance. So I don't hold that against them. Then he went to UCLA, they've never been good in my lifetime, ever. So I don't know. Like, I mean, I don't, if a guy never has like a superpower type job, it's hard to evaluate him. If he raises up their profile, like he had UCLA second in the nation running the ball 2 years ago. So I think that's a win. Like, it's not all about winning national titles to me, unless you're at Ohio State, where you have to win national titles to be in the conversation for being an elite all-time coach here. So, Nevada, does it worry you that Chip Kelly has never, quote unquote, won anything?
No, I think he's won a lot. And I mean, look, they lost to Cam Newton and Auburn, 1916 in the national championship game. I mean, he got about as close as you can get to winning a national championship without doing it. So, and he did it at Oregon, who's got no recruiting base, nothing. And they weren't exactly, there was no NIL back then. So he did it the hardest possible way. So no, I have a lot of respect for Chip, even if he's come up a little bit short.
That doesn't count though.
No, it does not count.
Newton does not count because he's still a loser. I'm kidding. I think that because Cam was like as good as anyone ever that season. I mean, you look at the players he had around him, the skill guys were about as bad as you've ever seen to win a national title, and Cam was a supernova. MT, it's funny we're talking about this today. Thanks for the 5, MT3 Brian. Any truth to the rumors that Quinshon Judkins comes back next year, and should he? I I mean, he's kind of fallen off a cliff the last month or so. He was red hot to start the season, and he's kind of cratered a little bit. So I don't know if he should. I think he could. I mean, again, the thing is now is like if he comes back, he's going to get $1 million to play football for Ohio State. So it's not the end of the world. He'd be the feature back, and but does he want to come back behind a reconstructed line, new quarterback? You still got JJ, you still got Ennis, you still got Tate. Defense will be fine, but I don't know. I mean, if I was advising him, I'd probably tell him to go. Just go to the league and try to get in where you fit in. But what are your thoughts, Nevada?
Um, I think at the beginning of the year I would have said that was 0% chance. I think now I'd say, yeah, there's a chance. There's a chance that he could, and like you said, with NIL changes the equation. So it was unthinkable that Trey would come back last year. I think Quinchon's in a similar situation, so he might surprise us.
Yeah. Matty Bucks thanks for the 5. Tom Brady's first collegiate pass was a pick 6 to UCLA, and all the Scum fans wanted Drew Henson. Will Howard can win a natty. And again, Tom Brady's one of the great case studies ever because he was hated by the Michigan fan base. Hated. And his dad hasn't forgotten that. There's great Google his dad talking about Michigan's fans, and now they've adopted him like he's Derek Jeter. He's like the chosen son, and they've got long memories. You know, when you boo that guy to death, and everybody wanted the phenom. Drew Henson was he was one of those rare 2-sport first round. He could either play for the Yankees or play for Michigan, phenom type guys, and he ended up not being good at either of them. So he ended up going to the Cowboys and sucked, and it just sometimes that happens. But yeah, nobody wanted Brady. Everybody wanted the shiny new toy, which is Drew Henson. So great history lesson from my boy Matty Bucks. Appreciate you, my dude, as always, for being on here. Jason, thank you for the 50. That is exceptionally generous. Thank you, my friend. I hope you're having a great night. Columbus isn't a college town. Have you ever been there? Everything is OSU. I live in Ann Arbor, and my son goes to OSU / wife and family are all Buckeyes. Columbus is crazy Buckeye country. Plus, tons of students live in town. They will show up. Did I say that, or did you say that Columbus isn't a college town?
No, I think that was to the person saying that they didn't think people wouldn't show up to the game because they're out for school. Doesn't like 90% of the school population live within an hour of Columbus or two? I mean, it's not like not that you don't draw nationally, but I mean, a lot of the people are local. I mean, a lot of the kids that go to Ohio State live in the state of Ohio, correct?
Well, and a lot of the people that go to the games aren't students, or they never went there. So again, it's not like it's just the students are home. How are we ever going to fill the stadium? Because again, we have tons of Ohio State fans that, I mean, you don't have to go somewhere or live somewhere to be a fan of Ohio State, and there will be people that'll fly in from all over the country to come watch this game. I'm not worried about the attendance at all in the shoe. I think Columbus is I think Columbus is one of the best college towns there is because you could do anything in Columbus. Like, it's got a great downtown. It's got a nice airport. It's got great shopping. Like, there's all kinds of stuff to do in Columbus. And it's not overwhelmingly stupidly big like LA or Chicago. And again, those are great cities too. But, if you want something that's less exhausting and you can actually, park downtown for less than $50, like, Columbus is great. So, I of all the things in my life that I worry about, like filling up the horseshoe for the first ever playoff game versus a really good SEC school on a prime time is like at the very bottom of the list. Like, that's like me worrying about if Elon Musk can afford to order DoorDash from Chipotle or something. Like, I think he'll be okay. I think the stadium's going to be absolutely rocking. I think that the SEC thing is going to be huge. I mean, again, Tennessee, because again, if our fans don't show up, Tennessee's will. I mean, they'll be slamming the place because it's a drive. They can drive it or they can fly in super easy. So I think it's going to be awesome. Super excited about it. Nevada, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, no, I totally agree. I think, though, you raise an interesting point. I think the Tennessee invasion of the stadium, this will probably be the biggest home visiting crowd that we've ever had in the history of the stadium, bar none.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. There'll be a lot of Jack Daniels going to be going down, I'm telling you.
Oh, yeah. Do you know the singer Rocky Top? Rocky Top, you'll always be home, sweet home to me. You know the song? Good old Rocky Top.
Oh, it's one of the great songs in college football. I mean, everybody
It,
knows
it
Rocky
is.
Top. You know,
We should be able to.
I
We
mean,
should adopt that as our song. That should be our like between the third and fourth quarter. We should sing Rocky Top. That should be our song.
well, I think if we win the game, we should play it for sure. Like that's
For
something that we
sure.
do. We do in the fourth quarter. Like we like when we beat Wisconsin and we play jump
And
around
they
in the
jump
fourth
around.
quarter.
Yeah, yeah, I like that.
When we beat Penn State, we play Zombie Nation. So
Yes.
if
Yeah.
we're beating Tennessee, big if, and it's out of reach, like I think we play Rocky Top because like that would be fire. But again,
We'll start
I don't
singing
know.
it. We'll start singing it in the suite. You and I together.
Oh my god, it'll be amazing. It's like I'm so excited for this game. I think it's gonna be absolutely fantastic. Tim 67 Buckeye, thank you for the 20. Appreciate you, my friend. When I watched 2014, Darren Lee was an animal. Any good stories on him and his pro career? Yeah, D Lee was a monster. He's the guy that he had to try out like 5 times for Urban. Obviously, he's had some struggles off the field. We had him on the show the one night. He's kind of been all over the place, but he was an athlete and was a baller. And again, I think that something that is great about winning a national title is it makes everybody seem better than they actually were. Which is something that, like, you look at statistically, and Nevadabuck's the guy that pointed this out more than I did because it's been over 10 years now since that game. But you know, I mean, Nevada, like statistically, that defense was good, but it wasn't like great. Now they turned up and won they shut out Wisconsin and they beat Bama and they obviously shut down Oregon, which is great. But yeah, statistically, that defense wasn't anywhere near as good as this year's. But people have that reverence because they won the national title. And good.
Yeah, they're giving up. They give up 10 points more per game than this year's defense, and 100 yards more per game than this year's defense. That great 2014 defense.
But that doesn't count, right?
But that doesn't count because they won the Natty. So it does. So we just remember them. We just remember them as being like shut down. They 10 points more. I actually think it's 11. I think 11 points more per game and 100 yards more per game. I mean, it's just crazy how much statistically more dominant this year's defense is. But that one gets all the accolades and all the love.
And how much more hated this defense is too.
Oh, Knowles is just Knowles is. You should talk to Knowles' relatives online. Like they're just like, oh my God, Jim. He just takes so much abuse from these fans. We've never seen anything like it. And hey man, it's just part of it. It's baked into the cake. It's just part of the best damn fans in the land, man.
He's got I know he sits there and he eats his vegan tortilla flatbread with grass-fed grass in the middle of it, and he just keeps on shutting teams down and holding them out of the end zone. So I give him a lot of credit, man. Mr. Feng Shui. He's eating his little vegan grass-fed grass burritos and shutting teams down. So I'm good with it. Like I said, I like Jim Knowles a lot. I think he does a good job. But yeah, D. Lee was a monster. He was like a hybrid, like a Shazier type 4-3 guy, and he was crazy. Talked a lot of trash to Lane Kiffin on that sideline, which again, we never mic guys up. He would have been an interesting guy to mic up. Now I don't know if any of it could have actually been played on a family-friendly channel, but it would have been funny to listen to D. Lee because he was always off the chain. So, all right, Nevada, I can wrap this thing up. Any final thoughts? Great show tonight.
Big portal movement, offensive lineman. Keep an eye on it. Ohio State is open for business, and there's a lot of guys that are willing buyers, and the NIL cooperative is stepping it up. So I expect to see some movement here shortly, at least a couple of names coming Ohio State's way. So buckle up.
Buckle up. It is portal season. Appreciate you guys kicking it with us as always. Thank you. Another huge, great show, great audience, great chat. Thank you to our guys. Thank you to my guys, Steely, Sean Schrock, all you guys, all of our mods in here. I appreciate you guys as always. If you guys enjoy this content, please leave us a like, click subscribe. Also click that little alert bell. Again, we appreciate you guys kicking it with us each and every night on here. Huge show tonight. So again, another great one. If you guys want to do something awesome for us, awesome. I mean, the greatest Christmas gift you could ever give me is please subscribe to our podcast on Apple Podcasts. We're really trying to push for the end of the year. Just click on your podcast app on your phone, and it opens right up. Super easy to do. Type in Buckeye Scoop, click subscribe. Very easy to do. Takes 10 seconds and helps us out tremendously. So thank you for that. Do that on Spotify as well. If you guys enjoy our content, please leave us a like, click subscribe. Also click that little alert bell. Appreciate you guys. Awesome show tonight. We'll be back again ready to rock at 7:10 tomorrow. But again, thank you guys so much. Love you guys to death. This has been incredible. Closing in on 34,000 subs on YouTube. So let's keep cranking. So with that being said, thank you so much, Buckeye Nation, and thank you, Scoop family. We'll talk to you guys tomorrow night, 7:10. You guys have a great rest of your night. Let's go Bengals. See them beat the Cowboys. Go Bucks.